All right, so CitizenCon 2954, aka 2024, and yeah, I want to do this video on some things I really liked. There's also some gripes I have, but yeah. Anyway, this is gonna be a long form video, so grab a beer or whatever, and I know I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna just kind of walk through it. Um, some parts are gonna be kind of glossed over. This is not going to be a full recap or anything. But I just wanted to highlight some things that I'm personally pretty excited about as someone who's been playing the game for, since 2015, so almost a decade. Maybe not, on the whole time. I don't think any sane person has with all the bugs and issues with patches. But anyway, let's get into it. Um, so the first thing was Genesis, and also some tools they have for Stark Attack, which was basically just their kind of world building thing. They had models of planets and solar systems and all that. This is just a way to add more parameters or variables into that model and make it more in depth in terms of like soil and atmosphere and you name it. So I think it's really cool, but I didn't really want to delve into their details because I didn't think that was all that useful. I kind of just wanted to show what it meant, because they had an awesome video on kind of the end state of when you put all that together, you get actual weather systems. So I'm gonna roll that video. So yeah, as I was mentioning, like I said, it's cool that they're doing all this stuff essentially to be able to build, more planets, more moons, more solar systems faster, more efficiently. They don't have to place all these trees manually. They give it the right conditions, and they just kind of come to life. There's some presets, but it just makes it simpler overall, and it also makes it more realistic and immersive. So not just space simulation mechanics, but also weather simulation mechanics, which is what all this comes from, right? How much humidity there is, oxygen, and all that stuff. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I thought more importantly, it was best to kind of show like what does that actually mean for the player, because I frankly really don't care all that much unless it does something for me, right? Like you could say there's all these variables, there's 30 different things they keep track of. Like what does that mean? And so putting that in the perspective of a player, yeah, that's pretty cool. So obviously they got rain, they got a thunderstorm that rolls in. And it looks like a cutscene until they do the whole gotcha with no, actually, it's in game, which I thought was really amazing. As far as I understood it, they had to time it pretty well. It wasn't just something that they could script. It's all dynamic. It's happening real time. They were just in the right place and the right planet. I'm guessing it's Microtech, but not really sure. Either way, it's really awesome. And something that just makes the game feel like you're actually in it, like you're in a world instead of just this very static, dry sandbox. So I thought that was definitely neat. Having an IPA, by the way. But yeah, so in this case, there's some players at this little outpost. They're trying to take their ships off from the landing area, and the fact that the ships kind of struggle because of the wind, the weather, changing atmospheric conditions. Like it's definitely really awesome. I mean, it looks gorgeous too. I think the game looks generally really really good, but it looks very sanitized. It's like it's almost like in this clean white room or something. But when you see this, and you see like weather dynamics impacting, that right there with the fire and stuff like that's super cool. And I don't need this to be 24/7, but maybe there's that planet that's always rainy, or whatever. It can create that mood, and make for some really compelling stuff. I mean, even for a variety of players, right? Like whether you're like pure PvP or you're doing the whole LARPing, role playing, whatever. Like cool. I think that would be pretty neat, especially if you're making like I don't know, little movies or clips or whatever. So definitely fun, and yeah, just super cool there. And I like that they did it from kind of a cutscene perspective. They did it from the on foot perspective. And then this part I really like too, which was, what does it look like when you're piloting your ship through one of these storms? What does that look like? And like this is a gorgeous shot. Seeing the lighting change from the lightning, the rain coming down, and again, knowing that that's all dynamic. That's not scripted, like a first-person game where you walk into a certain area and all of a sudden it starts raining. Like this is just happenstance. Like that's pretty cool. So that looks incredible. I mean, and I guess it's art direction. I mean, it's kind of natural in a I guess artificial sense, but it's supposed to be simulated weather. But even from an artistic standpoint, it just looks cool. It changes the mood. Like this is fun. This is fun to me. And it's cool, like seeing that other ship, the clouds actually being real moving clouds. The fact that you're not just all doing the same thing because everything's in the same spot all the time. That ship getting taken out by lightning. I assume that's somewhat exaggerated for the clip, where maybe they don't have shields on or whatever. But the fact that the lightning can even interact with your ship is pretty cool. Obviously, it's probably going to be more devastating to like small fighters and stuff than like capital ships, but still really cool. And then you can you actually break through the clouds. You see this on the other side, so super cool. Really, really neat stuff from Genesis. So another thing that I thought was absolutely awesome, and I don't think it's hard to implement. I think they have a great start on it, but it's org support in-game. And the other thing is the social rework. So social being, the chat features and all that. They're trying to kind of put that all into one cohesive screen, and I think that's really cool. As far as like different parties and stuff, like getting details on the members at a ship level was super cool. So if someone's on a certain ship, you can even figure that out. You can figure out who's in the party. Like really kind of neat stuff there. You can do a ready check, which I don't know if that's that big of a deal, but again, it's like quality of life, so cool that they're adding it. This was like the ship description, so you can see like, all right, there's such as a ship, who's the pilot, like where they at in the ship, are they like a turret gunner? That's even useful for like you yourself, like especially bigger ships and stuff. Like normally if you play with a friend or whatever, you have no idea where they're at. Like if you're on a hammerhead, it's just like a guessing game. They have to tell you, so it's kind of cool to see like at a glance. So I kind of dig that. Again, not like that huge. You can always just communicate, but it just makes it all easier. So definitely like that. This was cool too. So this was like essentially like a way to search for parties. Because right now you have to like invite people to a specific party instead of looking for one. So this can kind of give you an idea of like, well, where are they at? What are they actually doing? Ooh, maybe I could get in on that. It just makes the game more cohesive. Like everything right now is very like, I'm gonna do my thing, you're gonna do yours, and unless we know each other, we're probably not gonna interact. And so this just kind of steps up the interaction. That's why I think there's value in this, regardless of like what their design is. You can be picky. They got the different filters and stuff. Maybe it's only people and you don't want to just see any party, but regardless, like giving players the option, especially as the game goes to like a broader audience and larger player count with server meshing, like that's the way to go. So I like that a lot. Updates to the kind of the chat, but the cool thing was the links. So those blue hyperlinks, you can share like a link to, I think, like a contract. So instead of it just like that weird share that pops up and you gotta hit the button in time, this should be a way that you can see it. They didn't really demo that, but that was my impression. The other cool thing was the location. I don't know if that can be custom waypoints. That's something that I think has been desperately needed. It's super frustrating if you're just in the middle of nowhere and you have a party member that's like, hey, meet up with me. It's supposed to work that you can warp to them, but if you can just put a link down, open that up in your star map, and then route to there, like that's perfect. So this is like one of those little subtle details that they don't, like overly explain, but I think, the potential's there. So like even if they're just thinking in that general direction, like totally dig that. This was just a small update to, there's the voice over IP, which is like the voice chat, but then there's the face over IP. This is pretty cool, just to show like how much more detail it's getting. I didn't do the whole video and everything, but like, again, you can look this up if you're super curious, but just kind of neat that it's getting better and better, and especially if you're doing like the movie making, but even if you're not, like just the fact that like instead of this weird screwed up feature, like it actually could work pretty darn well with like most of the hardware that people already have, like regular cameras and stuff, without anything too fancy. Again, this is like rolling the Spectrum features pretty much into the game instead of just Spectrum, like on the website. So that's pretty cool. A lot of the same information, but I thought it was really nice, and it's just one more way to make it easy to join one or whatever. You got all the different filters too on the right side, which I thought was nice. But as far as like the visuals, I think this looks good. Pretty clean, pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy there. I assume you can get invites too. It doesn't show that, but I don't see why not. They also showed this. So just like normal Spectrum org stuff, you can be in multiple orgs, but you can only represent one, and the whole then you got the standard stuff as far as like announcements and like general info org. This was actually pretty cool, the calendar, like in-game calendar. So I know right now there's just honestly not much to organize. If you do RP or something maybe, but there's really not much to organize. But obviously they're adding a lot of gameplay stuff eventually, sometime in the eventual lifetime of our existence, maybe. But no, I mean it's cool. It's smart. It's not crazy creative, but it's just one of those simple good ideas. So that'll be good. Kind of keep things organized, and again, kind of keep it all in game instead of having to like bounce around a Spectrum and all that. You can put all those details in as far as like the time, the date, and all that. So cool. The representing thing, you can only pick one org to represent, and then there's all these benefits they came out with. I'm not gonna put too much stock in those benefits, but this is at least their design. They also add basically it's like an org tag, or I guess if you're an old school game, it'd be like a clan tag or whatever. But yeah, kind of cool, easier identifier. Which again, like right now, there's none of that in game. Like there's no way to know like if you're in the same org as someone. And I guess it's going to be the org that you're representing for the tag that you would see. But it shows it in ship, it shows it on the person. And then orgs have alignment to the different guilds, and I think I got some stuff later on the guilds that I thought was kind of cool. But this is all like 1.0 stuff. But there's different guilds, they're like specializations, and then your org aligns to one, and then you get bonuses. And then based on the org that you are representing, that's the one where you get the bonuses. But you have to like build up your loyalty. So you have to like do stuff or be in it longer or whatever. Again, I'm not going to get too worried about the details, but gist of it is you represent an org, you get a reputation with that org, and then depending on what the org does for that guild alignment, you get these kind of bonuses. So it's to help with specialization, basically. If you're a trading org, you're going to get trading bonuses. Like you can see here, you get 6% more in a payout if you're doing cargo hauling or something. Perfect. I want to be in that org, right? If you're doing like PvP or I don't know, mining or something, maybe it doesn't really help you. But yeah. And then the organizational alignment, like I said, with the guild and all that stuff. And so that's cool. The org can switch to different guild alignments, but it resets. But you can switch the guild you're representing without it resetting your loyalty. It just doesn't obviously progress unless you're representing at the time. So that's kind of cool. So it kind of gives you the ability to switch or act like you're a good guy sometimes and like join a pirate org or represent that for a while. Yeah, this is the personal loyalty thing. So you know, it's just kind of how you get that linkage to the org alignment or the guild alignment. Sorry. And just some like specifics on like control you have over like the different ranks and stuff and like their permissions and yada yada. And then you get to see like the member list and it's pretty detailed. You got the ranks, you got the location. It's kind of like the friends list, or it's like an alternate friends list, so to speak. With notes as well, so nothing crazy, but cool. The other cool thing was the enemy orgs, though. So you can have allied orgs and enemy orgs. Allied orgs, I'm not. I guess you just know, like, hey, that's one of the good guys, and they show up green. The enemy orgs, that's who you're fighting. They're going to show up as red, and you can manage all that. It's a two-way thing, so like both sides have to agree. Obviously, otherwise it'd be kind of silly. But yeah, and then like the end result is like, so like this is an example of like an enemy ship. It's gonna, because we marked that org as like an enemy, and now they're red. If they were an ally, they'd be green. And I think they also showed another one where it was like orange or something, which is if you attack them when they're orange, you're gonna get busted. You're gonna get a crime stat for it. They said go to jail, but the game doesn't really work that way. So I don't know if they even play their own game at times. But anyhow, yeah. And then this was, they showed this clip. The coolest thing was like it had the actual, branding of the guilds or the orgs on, like the ships. So you have the thematic colors of each org. You've got their logos. I'm assuming they're allied, and so they're working on like an org base together. I'll go into that a little bit later, but the gist of it was you can have like player bases and you can also have org owned bases, and so I guess this would be owned by one org but allied with another. They're working on it together, sharing cargo, but like the actual branding and coloring was really cool, because I always wondered about that. Like right now, you can like pick up red armor or like black or maybe some other colors like with the ADP armor, but you can only get so specific, and I thought, well, it's kind of silly. So this is cool. This like gives you unique flavor to your org, which is really cool. So I'm hoping this was intentional. They showed it. They didn't really talk about it. But like even in the middle of like their chess pieces and stuff, they have like their org logo and stuff. So definitely cool, promising, but they just didn't really give much detail. Not that means much anyway. Some stuff on the block list, and you can also list people as hostile. So again, I guess it would just be individual people that you want to have show up as red. Base building. This is probably my favorite. Like I've been wanting this for so long. I basically want to play Rust in space. I've been playing Rust since like 2015. 2015. Pretty much the same time I started Star Citizen. I've always wanted to play Rust in space. Like base building is just, I guess, super important to me. It's something fun to do. It's something like there's a why behind what I'm doing, and that's important. So this thing like legitimately looks like a floating coffin. I'm surprised someone's dead grandma doesn't pop out of it, but regardless, this is like the trolley. It's for the smallest base building, and it pops open. They don't have them yet, but I think those two little spots right there where the drones are supposed to go. But regardless, like for some reason they're struggling with developing the drones. But yeah, so there's this whole GUI that they have laid out for placing these different prefabricated buildings. There's not like a ton of customized features to the buildings themselves. It's more like the interior decorating. I've been saying this is kind of like, it's basically like playing Sims for guys, but we're not actually playing The Sims, so it's totally fine. But we're basically playing The Sims, but in space, so it's totally okay. So it's kind of cool. Like, there's no build time for this demo, but they just kind of show like this is what it looks like. You just built this thing, clean slate, but there's no power. So you got to figure that whole thing out, and then you got to like you're not decorating your you're just really filling out your space. Yeah, yeah. Not decorating at all. But anyway, you gotta have power. So all these boxes out here represent like materials that I guess the drones pick up. So you can do this all solo or have people bring resources. So even though like the trolley fit on that cutter, you'd have to have the materials too. So either multiple trips or multiple people, however you want to work it. But yeah, so I thought that was it's cool to see. It's kind of neat to see the concept. And I know they've had a lot of these buildings already because they've shown videos of this in the past. A lot of it's reused assets anyway, so it's nothing crazy new. But some of these things are new. So like this is like the power plant that they actually have to place, and then from there you actually have to link up with your building. So if you play like Fallout and stuff, like all the new Fallout games, like they have this kind of base building. It's kind of similar. I'm sure there's other games that do comparable things, but kind of your basics, right? You have like your utility infrastructure, and then you have like the places you live. They also did another video clip, which I'm not gonna show everything because I didn't want to do like a recap, but yeah, it's actual like large scale mining of like all those resources too. So super cool. They show these fuse spots like, wow, like if it doesn't work, you'll have to replace the fuse. I get that they're trying to roll engineering in. I'm not super impressed with that, but it's something. It's something that like requires some maintenance. It doesn't just all magically do things. But anyway, they turn on the power and then it glows and yippee. And they showed some other things like in terms of, so there's like land claims on secure places like Stanton, and then there's unsecured places like Pyro. But I think either way you can kind of do this surveying of the land to figure out like what resources are there. So if I'm going to mine, like what could I actually find here? Like obviously if you just want to build your little cabin in the woods, like it doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to do like mining, this would matter. Certain areas are off limits. Maybe that's due to terrain, or maybe you have neighbors that already did land claims, or they just have buildings nearby. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. And then these were just kind of like some of the things in terms of like the buildings. This was another view of placing the buildings. I'm not sure why it looked different from the video, but this is something they showed. But you also see like the categories, so you have like extractors and the habitats and different corridors to connect them. Kind of feels like an RTS of Age of Empires kind of thing. But yeah, and then you got the resources, I guess, needed to build them. You can have like higher quality materials if you want it to be, I guess basically more hit points, So that's kind of interesting. And then you have to actually connect them up with wiring. Again, I don't know if you use the other view or this view, or you can use both views. That's kind of TBD, but in this case it's a single building, and then they have this one where you're powering 3 buildings, and I guess you can individually turn each one off. So it's a simplified way of doing like the wiring, but it still requires that input, so they didn't skip it. So it's like it's all good stuff. Like I don't have any problems with it. You can upgrade the structure, so there's tiers just like there is for crafting with like weapons and whatever else. Like you can upgrade these buildings. They only show wear resistance and HP, so I don't know if it'll get more sophisticated for other things, maybe mining rates for higher tiers of like ore extractors or whatever. But again, like all good stuff. You can decorate your base, so like we saw that empty example, but you can put like beds and benches and boxes or whatever. It's like cool, There was also this a hologram mode of decorating things, but you can also do this mag locking thing, and they showed mag locking is like this thing too, like the way you can sell things. Like you lock it to the ground, and like no one can take it unless they buy it. So it's kind of cool, but it's just kind of ways to like visualize where you want to put things. So actually somewhat futuristic for a 900 year futuristic game. So kind of cool. But again, like those on the left, like You can add like the extractors, you can add your freight elevators. They said, multiple freight elevators are all linked storage, so you can like daisy chain them, and like if each one had like, I don't know, 500 SKU, you could link 5 together and have 2,500, I think. So, and then you can retrieve them from any. So that's kind of cool. The fabrication hangar, which I guess is like a way to make ships, but I also know they show like a landing hangar and stuff. So, but yeah, you can player built shops. That's like, this is another huge thing. That was the whole purpose of like the mag locking too. So you can have like actual terminals or the displays that you can buy stuff direct. So super cool. Puts the hands in the players. Player built economy, and it actually gives you something to do, which is awesome. So yeah, there's also some decals. I guess they're all like pre-made, but again, like you can kind of specify certain things. So like they have like that area for like a landing pad or whatever, like parking or whatever you want it to be. So I'm sure you can get creative with it, but again, like it gives you something to kind of personalize it. And I'm sure they'll have more with time, but like nice idea, nice detail. You can apply paint, so if like you want to make it colors for your org or just your business or whatever. If you're the yellow business, cool, make everything yellow. Like neat stuff. Nothing like crazy, but again, it's all nice. You can add your own text. I guess people want to abuse that, maybe, whatever. I don't care. Again, I liked Rust, so if people want to be obnoxious, whatever, you'll live. But yeah, kind of cool too. You can really like make your own business or however you want to do it. Pirates or I don't know. Have fun with it. They also kind of did a little bit of demonstration of like this vertical farming and stuff. And again, like farming, those materials can be refined and into crafted stuff. I don't know what, but cool. It's like it sounds nice. So I'll go with it. And then these are like, they specifically were talking about this for XL structures, which is cool. But also the more important thing was, you have like actual bases and you have these defensive structures and you have this shield that protects you from like aerial bombardment. So no one with like an A2 can just drop a bunch of bombs. And I know like the secure system in Stanton has like a planet-wide, shield. Pyro, you have to like share them or something. It's like localized, but either way, like you're protected from aerial attacks. But like if people are coming in from the ground, which I guess that's the whole purpose of adding all these ground vehicles in, you have to deal with turrets and like walls and yeah. So it should be fun. And then from there you can disable like the shield generators on foot, and then you can fly in the vehicle or the spaceships. So I don't know. It sounds fun. We'll see how it plays out. It's probably a million years away, but I like the idea. So I get excited. And then yeah, like you can have bases everywhere, and farms and ship shops and whatever you want. So definitely cool. Yeah, the trolley, the grav cart, whatever they want to call it. But yeah, small buildings, as I said. Then yeah, there's different base building vehicles. The medium one, I'm not really sure. They introduced a new Argo one, which I think is for medium. I thought previously it was like some Anvil vehicle, but maybe it'll be both. I highly doubt it'll be one or the other, but they showed as far as production, yeah, one drone is one structure. So if you got two, you can do two structures at a time. And basically as the drones get bigger, they can build the subsequently smaller structures faster. So that's cool. So that's kind of a gripe though. They did mention that last year in CitizenCon, it's one of my gripes, but I gotta say it, they talked about the Galaxy being able to do base building of large structures. They didn't necessarily specify it be a module. Granted, it's a modular ship, so it's kind of resumed, but whatever. And then the ship, lead ship director basically just kind of shot himself in the foot by saying, oh no, we don't plan to do that at all on Spectrum, and then like 5 hours later had to correct himself and say, actually it is confirmed that we will get it, it's just not being worked on. So that means next to nothing. And the excuse was that the extra large, or the large drones wouldn't be able to fit in the module. And that doesn't make any sense because the module is bigger than the compartments of the other ship that they announced, the Starlancer, and this specifically the Starlancer build, and they show these little side compartments that are far smaller than the Galaxy. So if you got a Galaxy and you're pissed off, I totally get it. It's stupid because now the Starlancer build will come out before the Galaxy and before the Galaxy's building module. Awesome job, Sig. I don't know why you can't just stick to the plan instead of trying to sell us yet another ship. I don't know. Come up with skins or loot boxes. I don't care. Anything, but yeah. Don't nerf ships and then come out with new ones. So that was very distasteful. So got a lot of people up in an uproar, myself included, and yeah. One thing they did or didn't do is, so Pioneer is still the only ship that can do XL. Obviously, it can do anything smaller than an XL as well, but it's still the one and only. They did a rework on it, a reconcept, but it's still like really awesome. Really awesome. And the huge thing they announced was like on top of like extra large structures, which we kind of got an idea of, was it's the only one that can do space stations, which was like really awesome. Because again, like what do you do in this game? Like, great, you got a bunch of people in an org and like they're working together, and like what do you do? Boom, you build space stations. That's pretty sweet. So this was kind of a surprise to me, and I honestly like liked it. I mean, sure, it's probably impossibly far off, but it was cool. They did have a video of it all, but you got to make this supply bay specifically with the Pioneer, and then it's got the drones, and you have to like stack the cargo on the side grids. Just like in Levski that they showed. But yeah, like so super cool. It's got all these different kind of like prefab pieces. You got like the module core, the bridge, and then there's like, instead of like the space stations today, there's this like central elevator system that you can literally go everywhere internally. It's not just like, how does that work? How does the magical elevator get me from A to B? You know, like it actually like takes you there, which is kind of refreshing. And then there's this observation deck and stuff, which is cool, and the lower decks for engineering, and then the hangar deck where you can actually land your ships, so that's kind of cool. And then these bulkhead connectors, which I'll get to soon, and like so some of those bulkhead connectors are for filling it out like the way you want, so it's actually, you know, user configurable to, you know, add your own like habitation or I don't know, whatever type of room, armory room or whatever sounds fun, like whatever the theme is for your space station. But like super cool, a lot of extensibility. If you don't want to add it, don't, but like still really cool that they added it. So totally dig that. And yeah, it's like, so it's expandable, so they have like the tailored ones, I guess, like kind of like pre-made, like you can have an infirmary, you can have a generator room, or I guess you can just do it like boom, kind of like the early small hab that we saw, where it's like decorated however you want. So that's kind of cool. There's a ship module, so you can like essentially the same thing. Instead of on the ground, you can have it on a space station. Super cool. And then there's these things called hard points. There's minor and major. So the minor ones, you know, they show some examples like guns and shield generators. I don't know if one's a radar, maybe. Some extract like gas, or I don't know if it can extract solids, but anyway, it's like a mining extractor. That's kind of cool, I guess. And then there's these hard points. I think this is a typo. It's supposed to say major hard points at the top. But anyway, they show that for, you know, connecting these wings. So there's like a cargo wing for, you know, a massive amount of storage. There's a refinery wing, so just like any space station now, like that has refineries, you can do it yourself in space, which is kind of nice instead of having like go to the planet to drop off. And then there's a hangar wing, so you can, you know, so if you have like two, I mean, you could have just two hangar wings and have like a ton of hangar space, or you can do a bunch of cargo or whatever. This customization, again, like nothing crazy, but it's kind of cool. You can, you know, uniquely identify it as your station instead of everything looking generic. It's not like crazy amount of customization, but I dig it. You know, again, it's a small thing sometimes. And then they had their whole video of, you know, like actually doing this battle looks super cool. So there's actually a point of being in a big orb. I mean, it's still just for fun. Like I don't, I don't know if you can take over the station or what. If you could, that would be even a bigger deal. And then maybe get all the cargo. That again, it's like Rust in space. If I can loot your base, that's pretty cool. And then they added this dry dock thing, and everyone went all wild and excited because that's how you can get a Bengal and some other big ships. So that's kind of neat. And they just showed I guess you can just keep linking the space stations together into some giant thing. I don't know. It looks cool. Exploration was always going to be one of those things where it's a little open-ended, it's a little vague. There's some ideas for it, but this to me is a aspect of exploration. Hey, I flew around, I found this cool monster, killed it, I got cool shit. And there's littler ones, and you gotta, it's 300 meters long, which is in the context of the ships is ridiculous. Monarchs, I guess, is one of the moons or planets or whatever. Pyro, so that's kind of cool. You have to find these juvenile ones, the smallest one, and so it says it lives near mineral deposit, and then you bring them out, I guess, with your ground vehicles or whatever, and then they come out, and then you kill the little ones, and the bigger ones come out, and then you kill the bigger ones, and the really big one comes out, and yeah, so it's okay, cool. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of like raid boss-esque, but I don't care if it's simple, whatever. You can always tweak it, but just give us something. So I think this is fun. And then I think this was kind of cool. It shows just kind of size comparison of the Valakar, at least the biggest Apex one next to an Idris and next to a Titan Avenger, and I think they also had a Corpion somewhere in there. It's this little speck or whatever. So it's obviously huge. But yeah, so that was pretty much it for monster hunting. But I like the potential to promise. I don't say promise. That's a bad word to say. We're gonna use promise. Vehicles. I'm not gonna touch on this much. I made my gripes about the Star Lancer. I'm not really that excited about it, and I also don't like that it came at the expense of nerfing other ships to make it look good. But whatever. If you like the Star Lancer, go look at pictures of it, or get the 2 versions next month in November. The Argo one, one's just a little storage one, but the other one was for medium buildings, so kind of cool, I guess. But they call it the CSV family, so construction support vehicle. I don't know if I'm really excited, but it's another way to get base building. So in that respect, I wanted the game. They did show, specifically it's 2954, which is this year's IA. So they kind of showed a exterior pass on the Polaris and some interior stuff and kind of the finalized version. Textures look a lot sharper, more detailed. I think it looks cool overall. I'm super excited to have it. I still want all that other stuff in the game, otherwise it's just flying around another spaceship, which is fun, but it gets boring. So I'm still excited for more of the gameplay than the ships, even though I'm excited for the Polaris and I bought one. So whatever. Yeah, with that, they kind of did their little, smoky, guess what I am preview thing of 12 ships. And people figured them all out, mostly except for one. Some, we kind of already knew about. Pioneer, obviously, that got the rework. That's actually exciting, though, because if that's coming out in 2025 or even close to, it means, maybe base building to some degree isn't actually that far off. Ironclad, that's an awesome one. I'm looking forward to that. The Apollo, that'll be good. Especially if they do Death of a Spaceman. I would assume, they're gonna do the whole tracking reputation and stuff. So I think a lot of stuff will line up for that, but there's not enough details right now other than speculation. I don't know what the question mark is. I don't have a clue. It looks like some weird whale or something. So if you know, I don't know, put it in the comments. The Perseus, that got bumped ahead of the Galaxy production with the claim that it shares more with the Polaris. But if that was the argument, then why'd they pick the Polaris? And it was something to do with because if they make the capital ship, they'll know how to make the smaller ships. But then they made the Constellation, even though the Zeus looks nothing like it. So I don't understand that logic chain. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. But either way, Perseus is coming sooner, which I'm not really excited about because, I mean, yeah, like pew pew and all that, but there's really not much else to do with it. So whatever. Starlancer build, that's the building one that'll do large buildings in lieu of the Galaxy until the Galaxy can soon after, which I don't know what that means in Sig translation. That's probably like 2 years or something. Yeah. So Galaxy in 3 years. Let's go with 2028. The Drake a la cutter. I don't know. Some new Drake concept. It looks like a cutter and a Corsair had a baby. But yeah, and then the Misfortune, I think that's supposed to be like a medium salvage ship. So that could be cool. There's just not details beyond its name. The Mirai Guardian, Terrapin Medevac. That'll actually be kind of cool. Terrapin is heavily armored, which is nice whenever they implement armor. I just don't know how far that away is. And then, a bunch of, F7 variants. I don't know. Some people get excited by them. I don't need 30 versions of a fighter, but cool. I don't know what the Atlas BMP is. It could be a base builder. I know there's supposed to be an Atlas one at one point, but we'll see. Yeah, so I guess more to come. I don't know what the Great Cat is either, but 1.0. So this is the part that kind of excites me, and I'll kind of gloss over this because I also get frustrated because as someone who's been waiting for 1.0 as soon as they started talking about it, really before then, I want to know, when would this game be playable? When are you going to get it to a good state? And that includes things like server meshing, things to actually do, and 1.0 to me represents almost too much. Yes, I wanted gameplay. I want base building. I want in-game org support so I can do things with my org and then, I don't know, attack a base or build a base or whatever. That's cool. This stuff is not bad. Don't get me wrong. But it was this lore dude talking about stuff, and it's cool, but I know this is going to take 5 years. Yes, some of this is thought out. Some of this is done. But the thing I was talking about with the Galaxy, they literally did maybe it was an accidental, but either way, they did a 180 in under a year. So when you look at this, it's cool. Yeah, I like where you're going, but do we really need all this stuff for 1.0? I know they want a complete game, but I don't want to just talk about well, it's an alpha, because every alpha is this big band-aid for everything. Well, yeah, it doesn't work because it's alpha. Okay, all right. We gotta wipe the game. It's an alpha. Okay. So anyway, I'll go into it, but you've got all these guilds. It gives specialization. There's all these companies that are tied to specific I don't know, roles or whatever within the guild. Those guilds belong to a system, and then they did this whole story. So they want to have a main story for Star Citizen, the persistent universe. And instead of just a sandbox, there's a story. And they try to say that it's to get citizenship and that you do it at your own pace. Of course, they also say well, what happens if you just don't finish it? That's TBD. Again, I don't know how well thought out this is, but whatever. NPC driven. I'm super skeptical of that. Yes, I know they're doing it for Squadron 42, which I guess side rant. I'm not covering Squadron 42. You can find the video. It looks pretty cool. It's very cinematic, but it's still not done. It's pushed out to 2026. And for something that is, I think they said it's a little over 30 hours, it's going to be fun. I'll play it when it's available, but I'm just really not that excited about it because I'm going to play it and I'm going to get back to being interested in the persistent universe. That's where I've spent the most of my time and will spend the most of my time. So it's just kind of a blip, on the radar in the grand scheme of things. So cool. But anyway, the point being that, yes, they're doing a bunch of NPC stuff in Squadron 42, so this should be pretty easy to implement, but they're still struggling to polish that thing. I mean, it's supposed to be in polish phase, and it's potentially, if it's late 2026, that could be almost 3 years of whatever polish is at that point. So I'm just like super skeptical, you know. But yeah, anyway, so you got all these guilds, they do all these things, feeds into this story. I'll go into that, I guess, in a little bit. They showed the planets, which again, they're going to do 5 systems. That's not inherently bad. I mean, it's certainly more than Stanton, so that's good, right? It's not that many. I almost want less because of how long it's taken. Now, all that Genesis stuff is supposed to speed this along, so if, hey, if it's a swamp planet or a swamp region, we give it some variables and boom, it spits everything out. Maybe it won't be so bad and it'll speed up a lot. Same thing with like creating points of interest. They have a good system for that, I think, that they're going to implement, but I just don't know if it's actually going to. Yes, it should speed up planet development, but how long are those tools? Like, how long is Genesis going to take all 5 phases to the point where they actually get the benefits of faster system development, right? If you said, well, now they can build a system in 6 months, cool, but if it takes them 3 years to finish Genesis, it doesn't. Yes, it matters like in the 20-year roadmap. It doesn't really matter in the next 3 years because either way, there's nothing to do. So anyway, Stanton, we all know about it. Pyro, more detail, cool. Yeah, Monax, that was where the the big worm was. So it's one of the planets. Cool, like neat. We know about Pyro. Should be part of 4.0 in entirety. They're adding Nyx, which is, cool. This should be fairly easy to do. Levski looked fairly complete. And then, you got these other planets. There's only 3 of them. Shouldn't be too bad. But we'll see. I mean, again, it's more work. And you got Castra, which right now it has 2 planets. I don't know. Do they just change things when they feel like it? Yes, they do. So I've been calling it Capcom, but Sherman looks amazing. So I'd really like it to be done, but I just, it's in pre-production. It does look pretty good, but I mean, when you talk about like the entire planet and like all the details, this is not 18 months. No way. And then, on top of that, when you're like, all right, that's not bad. 3 planets, 2 planets, all right, it's not bad. They could do it. Pyrite, way more, right? And they're like, oh, well, let's do Terra. I'm like, oh, everybody's excited about Terra. It's like, all right, now you got this oasis-looking place, you got the jungle-looking place, you got the volcanic-looking place. It's like, oh, we're going to do all this in how long? And, there's people thinking, like, yeah, a couple years. It's like, no, this has got to be, like, literally 2030. They're just, it's not that the ideas are bad, it's just that they take so long, and the pace they've gone at doesn't say otherwise. So, anyway, they got this like whole system, and they got all these guilds, and they got all these like specific types of work you can do for guild progression. So I'm assuming, if you build buildings, you do better with cornerstone developments, which improves your United Resources workers progression. Cool, not bad. It's just like you're talking about another system. How long does it take them to work out bugs and stuff on the smallest of things? This is just so much more complexity, which is great, I don't know, call it 1.4, 1.5, 2.0, whatever. But in 1.0, it's like, this is 2030. So anyway, they show out all these guilds, and there's a transport guild, and a sports guild, and an Academy of Science, which like, this does have like the kind of Monster Hunter part. Like if you've done any, the research or science contracts, it's always been like the deploy a probe. That's it. That's all there is. So like either these guilds are going to be rather hollow, or they're going to do the contracts and beef those up and actually have more to do. But that's going to, again, take more time. So I guess that's my biggest gripe. It's just like, cool, but I don't even really care about something that's so far away. I barely cared 10 years ago about like what it could be, because I knew it was so far away. But to know that other things are still further, it's like, bounty hunting, they've never really talked about bounty hunting 2.0 again, but they did introduce, well, there's going to be the mercenary guild for like the lawful side, and then there's going to be I don't remember what they called it, but it's like the I don't want to say the guild, the council or something like that, but you know, it's kind of like the bad guy side. And you know, there's certain perks, like maybe you can, you know, you can steal a ship, and then there's a like a remote kill switch, and it's useless. But if you're, you know, good reputation with the council or whatever, then you can, you know, essentially hotwire it, and now it's yours. And like, cool, I guess. I don't know. It's just so pie in the sky that it's like I can't take it seriously, you know. So like, maybe this is neat, but like, I don't know. Call me in another lifetime. So it's just like, you see this and you're like, some people are like, wow, there's so much stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's so much stuff that is so damn far away. So I don't know. That's my whole issue with it. It's just too much stuff. But yeah, there's gonna be base rating, which is, you know, cool. Like I said, the ground. There's the shields, and you gotta do ground assaults, and I guess razor extraction implies, you know, you either burn to the ground or you know, blow it up, or you can actually steal the loot. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I got. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. I thought it was really cool overall. Just kind of a sour taste because it's just like, God, when is this thing gonna finish? So anyway, thanks guys. Catch you in the next one.